Everyone, I have the sad duty to inform those of you that aren't aware that Councillor Anthony Murray died 2 days ago. He was an exemplary councillor, county councillor, local councillor, who spoke up for his residents of Wooler fiercely and proudly, and was a great friend to many of us. The details and arrangements are not yet made, but we will keep you informed of that. And we will pay a tribute to him at council meeting in 2 weeks' time. So good morning to everyone for joining us at our cabinet meeting this morning. We will begin with apologies for absence. Do we have any?
Councillor Wearmouth.
Councillor Wearmouth. Okay, thank you very much. The minutes of the Cabinet meeting held on the 9th of May have been circulated. I'll sign those at the end if everyone is happy. Is there a proposal? Proposed by Councillor Riddle, seconded by Councillor Stewart. All in favour, please show. Lovely, thank you very much. Now, are there any disclosure of member interests that anyone needs to make, please? I don't see any, so that's fine. Now we move to the only agenda item we have today, and it is the only agenda item because it is of such great importance, not just to the North East, and not just to us, but to the whole country, because this is building upon this government's desire and wish to see power, authority, decision-making and money devolved locally for constituent authorities to work together and do great things for the areas that it represent. For the last 18 months or so, there have been regular meetings between myself and the Chief Executive and the other leaders and Chief Executives to talk about how we might make this work. And I have to pay great tribute to my fellow leaders and to the chief executives who have given up so much time and effort in all of these discussions, every one of which has been well-mannered, friendly and respectful. And although we've had our differences as we've gone along, we've managed to talk through those to get to the state that we are today, where we have this decision to make, following the public consultation to take the devolution deal forward so far as Northumberland is concerned. Now, this is not something that is saying, Northumberland, you're finished. You're part of a big authority now, and you will lose your ability to make decisions and to have that democratic organisation that you currently have. Far from it. Northumberland County Council will continue in the role it has. What it will do is add greater sharing of expertise and greater sharing of friendship and greater sharing of cross-council working that always brings rewards in my experience. Apart from all of that, it will also bring significant extra funding for those key areas that we want to see more funding given to us as a group of councillors working together to devolve and use in our own areas. Now, we've worked very well with the North of Tyne Combined Authority for the last few years. We've seen significant money coming from the North of Tyne to help us with key projects like the Northumberland Line, for example. And the relationship with Newcastle and North Tyneside has been a very friendly one, a very sensible one, and one, again, that I've never seen an argument around any issue in all the 2.5 years that I've been involved with it. So the prospects are looking good, and I think this is absolutely the right thing that for us to do, and I'm sure we will have a discussion about that as the meeting progresses. The key thing was we needed to check with our residents that they were happy too. So we used the opportunity to have consultation events across the county. and to reach as many residents as we could with the questions that are in the consultation document about how did they feel that we should move forward with this. Were they in favour or were they not in favour? And the results are within the report that they are in favour. There are some queries, there are some concerns, and we may touch on some of those today, primarily around how will Northumberland make sure we get our, quote, fair share, quote, of funding. And the answer is I have absolutely no doubt that we will, because the relationships that we have built up with the other authority leaders and chief executives is such that there is a level of trust and mutual respect that will make sure that devolving money will be done fairly and appropriately. And I have no doubt that that will happen. And that is a very important plus point for me, because had we not had this experience building up to this important day today, I would have been much less happy about going to this. As it is, I feel confident that as leaders, we will work together for the best for the region, but also for the constituent authorities. I also want to pay tribute to our staff, who have been very thorough in all the build-up to today, the briefings that we've given to members, and there have been a number of those, the briefings we've given to staff and to residents, and for setting up the consultation events and attending them, and giving me so much support at those events. And I'm very grateful to them. Thank you very much. And I would probably just mention Sarah McMillan particularly, because she has been exemplary in the way this process has worked. So thank you very much, Sarah, for that. I think with that, we have got the paper, which members will have looked at because we've discussed it. I think I'd just like to open it up now for any questions, and we will do that now. Just as a reminder, for those that aren't aware about the devolution deal, this is a new opportunity given to us by government, who are very keen on devolution, and this will be what is known as the LA7, or the North East Combined Mayoral Authority. This is Durham, it is Gateshead, Sunderland, North Tyneside, South Tyneside, Newcastle and Northumberland, all working together going forward. This report that we've looked at updates us on the consultations I've just described and seeks Cabinet approval to submit the attached consultation report to the Secretary of State as the next step in the process of establishing this new authority that we have. So I'm going to just, first of all, ask, you have the recommendations there. I'm going to ask you to propose and a seconder, and then we will open it up for some discussion. So the recommendations are there for you. Is a proposer? I will propose those, and it's seconded by Councillor Pojai. Okay, are there any questions from anyone? Yes, Councillor Horncastle.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, you mentioned opportunities, the extra funding, and you mentioned at the moment you have a good level of trust amongst the other council leaders. So what my question or what I want to ask or say is that this council has done remarkably well over the last 5 years in the provision of affordable housing. I haven't got the exact figure in front of me, but 1,600 roughly over the last 4 or 5 years, through 106 agreements and working with some of our partners. We're still in control of our planning, we're still in control of our housing numbers, still in control of protecting our green belt, which is highly important to the residents of Northumberland. However, some of the things we've perhaps struggled on, not through any other reason than lack of money, is more specialist housing. And with this mention of extra money, I'm hoping, and I'm hoping you can verify this, that the more specialist housing, more affordable housing, extra care, sheltered accommodation type housing that we've struggled simply because it costs far more money to provide. And do you think that we will achieve this now with this extra funding, with this trust you've got with the other leaders?
Yeah, I think that's a very important question. I'm glad you acknowledge the amount of affordable homes that we have managed to achieve, and that is continuing to increase as we go on. Extra care and sheltered housing is desperately important, particularly given our ageing population across all of the councils. So I very much hope that there will be an increase in funding on top of the funding that we have that will help us provide the very facilities that we want. So I'm confident that we will see more sheltered housing, more extra care housing grow in Northumberland to meet the need. So thank you for that question. Are there any others? Councillor Riddle.
Thank you, Leader. I'm very pleased to see that during your negotiations, etc., that there is a very considerable amount of money in for the rural funding agenda, and it's, you know, this is enhanced funding, and I think it'll be, you know, very important, particularly for Northumberland and Durham. But you know, we've got a huge area, and it'll, I'm sure we can put it to very good use.
Yes, thank you. There were a number of red lines in the negotiation period that were important to me because they were important to Northumberland. One of those was around rurality and the fact that a great deal of Northumberland depends upon its rural status for funding. So what we actually managed to achieve was the setting up of a rural board, which Northumberland will chair, which will have devolved funding to deliver the kind of things that we are beginning to look at delivering now with the £9 million that we've had recently from North of Tyne to help us deliver skills training, business support and so on to rural businesses. So it is very important, and I think it's very important as well to all leaders because they recognise that most of the authorities involved have a linkage in some way, smaller or larger, to rurality. Durham, for example, is very similar to Northumberland and recognises the need to have strong funding, strong acknowledgement of the importance of rural areas and rurality as a whole. And I think the board, which when it gets set up and has funding delivered to it, will play a really crucial role going forward. Thank you. Are there any more? Councillor Watson.
Thank you, Chairman. Tourism in Northumberland is over £1 billion, and it's 15% of our population work in it. Can we just be assured that we'll be able to continue to advertise Northumberland as well as the rest of the North East?
Yes, the tourism industry is vital for Northumberland and provides many jobs and many business opportunities. And yes, we will continue to deliver the tourism development that we do and support. I think we will find that there will be additional funding as well that becomes available to help us with that. I think in Northumberland, we are now beginning to need to start looking more seriously at how the Lake District looked at their tourism offer, which is that sometimes it's necessary to explain to tourists that it's not just the coast that's so great in the county. The Cheviots and Simonside and across, and the southeast. All parts of Northumberland should be visited and will be of interest to tourists, whatever part of Northumberland we're talking about. So it would be probably quite good to, one of our first actions is perhaps to start looking at how we might encourage tourism to move around the county a little bit more and pick up some of the attractions that we have in the southeast, for example. You know, Dalwell Hall and you know, that lovely South Beach play area, which we're going to be investing in soon. and the Blythe Battery, and a number of areas that we have over in the west and, of course, in the north as well. So, rather long answer, sorry, but we will continue to give our all to tourism support. But I think extra funding will come in, which will help us look at how we move forward for the next 10 years. Thank you. Are there any other questions? Yes, Guy Renner-Thompson.
Thank you, Leader. We know that the deal includes £63 million for adult education, which can be transformative for people's lives, especially as we move into the new industries that we're able to attract into the county. This money can upskill people to work in those industries, so they don't have to move across the country for work. We want people to stay in Northumberland. But we're also in negotiations on Trailblazer funding for children's education for under 18s in our schools and colleges. Will you be continuing that negotiation going forward?
Well, I think Northumberland has a very proud history of recent improvement, significant improvement, and we have a lot of expertise to share, and we will also be able to share expertise of others from the other authorities that will help us to continue to develop our improvement. I'm very proud of everyone involved in education in Northumberland, because we have the figures that show that once upon a time we were in the lower quartile when it came to Ofsted results, and today we are in the upper quartile. And I think that speaks volumes of the staff, of the support they get from here, of you as the cabinet member that drive this matter so thoroughly. So I'm very proud of what we've achieved, and I'm looking forward to working with others to get us even better going forward. Thank you. Are there any other questions? Councillor Stewart.
Yes, thank you, Leader. You mentioned about red lines before. Absolutely delighted that the Northumberland Fire and Rescue Service will remain within the part of Northumberland County Council. It's a unique, modern, forward-thinking, professional, well-equipped and highly trained resource within this county. So I'd like to thank the staff of the Northumberland County Council Fire and Rescue Service. We've got a unique area as far as rural and a lot of growing urban areas, and we have learned about the massive investment from the government and this council in South East Northumberland. We will continue to work with others and the other fire and rescue services throughout this new combined authority offer great service as well. So we are clearly looking forward to working with them. But to remain identifiable with this great county is so important for this county council and the staff and the residents. So I'd like to thank you, Leader, the officers, Councillor Horncastle, who was the chair of the Fire and Rescue Service, and partners throughout the combined authority for allowing us to continue, which is absolutely right, to have this fire service within Northumberland.
Fantastic. Very well put. I agree with everything you've said, and I am delighted that we will go forward with our very fine Fire and Rescue Service. We actually had a very interesting visit there last week and saw just how much the firefighters do on our behalf, and it's very good that we're going ahead, keeping our own Fire and Rescue Service, and quite right too. Thank you for what you've said. Are there any other questions? Yes. Yes.
Thank you, Leader. You mentioned the 7 council areas before, and naturally each of those 7 areas will have their own priorities that they want to focus on. I know some of our colleagues have obviously mentioned some of the areas that are important to us, but just thinking around our 3 key priority areas, how will this deal help us achieve those? For example, obviously tackling inequalities is one of the things that we keep promoting and saying is something we really want to do.
Thank you, Councillor Ferguson. Yes, I mean, I'm glad you've raised the 3 priorities, which are value for money, tackling inequalities, and supporting business, creating job opportunities. Those are the 3 priorities that drive everything we do as a council. They're reflected in our corporate plan, they're reflected throughout the county, and they will continue to be reflected as part of the combined authority. And other leaders know what our priorities are, and they are very supportive of those. And because of that, I have no doubt at all that we will see extra funding, extra opportunities coming in to help us tackle the inequalities that we all want to see reduced. I think, for example, issues around transport will allow those people who live out in the country or don't have cars and so on to be able to have a better public transport system. That's just one example, but I think the sharing of knowledge and the sharing of expertise can only be a good thing, and I think we'll see that be very clear as we go forward, where we work together, and that we very much want to see all the good work that's been delivered by you and all the cabinet and officers built upon, so that we can continue to be absolutely committed to tackling inequalities in this county. Yes, Councillor Pojai.
Thank you, Leader. I just would like to echo what you said and our cabinet colleagues have said, and also would like to highlight a few points from my portfolio perspective. You just mentioned improvements in public transport. We've got 900 million transport funding included in that deal. I think, maybe Sarah may correct me, I think it's £5 million more than our current funding available. We've got 1.4 billion investment funding for regeneration, business support and other initiatives. So, as few examples from our current combined authority, we secured 5 million spending to be spent in Ashington for High Street Innovation Programme and Town Centre Renewal. We've got 10 million from combined authority for Northumberland Line Economic Corridor. We've got Culture and Creative Zone in Berwick, Rural Business Growth Fund, and many more. And I'm sure with that additional funding, there is many more to come. And I hope this funding will help to make our towns and villages thriving and great places to live, learn and work, and I hope it will support residents of the county, businesses of the county, and drive economic prosperity and help tackle inequalities, which are such an important thing for this administration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's very well put, and I agree with you completely. Like tackling inequalities and providing value for money, encouraging business and providing those jobs and doing all we can to help business is crucial, and I'm quite sure that we will see significant extra funding coming in, as we've had from North of Tyne, for which I'm very grateful, from the Combined Authority to help us achieve that goal as well. Right, so if there are no other questions, the recommendations have been proposed and seconded. If there are no more questions, can I go to the vote, please? All in favour? And that is unanimous, so thank you very much indeed. So just really only remains for me to say thank you again to all those people that came to the consultation events, to all the people that filled in the forms and helped us come to this decision, which allows us to move forward now on to the next step. I think this is just simply one of the biggest days that Northumberland County Council has ever had in moving this deal forward for the benefit of our residents, for the council and for the North East economy as a whole. I'm grateful the government have offered this opportunity, and I'm even more grateful that we have grabbed it. So with that, I have no urgent business, so I would now like to declare the meeting closed, and thank you all very much for attending, and thank you to those of you at home who've been watching.